would like to highlight maybe what are some of the things that you tell students? I know you're new in your role, but maybe what are some things that you have told students or you've seen that will allow for students and clinicians to have a successful clinical with somebody underneath them, or you interacting with a new clinician?
I think it would be just to remember that we're all learners. At no point does one person know everything. And you can learn from someone who is, a student or a PT tech, or, just kind of remaining humble and remembering that there's probably a learning moment as a student in almost every moment you're in clinic, and to remember as the instructor that there's probably a teaching moment in every moment that you're in clinic. It sounds like an oversimplification, and but that's really the reality. Is the first day is just remembering you are here to learn. There are pearls and things that as the student you can bring to your clinical site. That's the beauty of clinical education. And it's reciprocated. The clinical instructor understands that they are there to impart this knowledge and their experience on the student, but be open to learn from the student. There are really skillful ways of doing both and approaching both, but keeping that in the back of your mind, I think, is incredibly helpful.
And part of going through clinical care as a student is to prepare you for, well, clinical care. And
Mhm.
sometimes, we get so focused on passing the board exam and, focusing on that in general, just because that's what the licensure process is like. And how can students best prepare for life after the exam? And how can they perhaps get themselves in a good position to be a good clinician immediately out of school? I know, you want to get as much experience as possible within graduate school, and so that way you can prepare yourself. But what are maybe some ways to ensure that you're going to be best prepared after school and after your clinical residencies and so on?
I think that it goes many different ways. Soaking up the knowledge from your clinical instructor is helpful. Obviously, not just for learning psychomotor skills, but life skills. So, kind of reminding students it's okay to ask your CI how they became who they are. Learning about people's journeys, I think, is helpful. Just having those conversations even before graduating. And there are conferences, attend conference, network, ask your professors who they talk to when they have questions about certain things. Um, Tapping into all the resources that are available in physical therapy, I think, is just something that as a student, you're so focused, like you said, on the exam that there's a tunnel vision that sort of blocks out everything else that could be actually really helpful for passing the board exam. So, connecting with resources, I think, always sets you up for success after school. There's so much to gain from clinical experiences outside of skills, practice skills, that I would want to sort of redirect students to consider really talking to their CI about their personal journey. There are so many resources out there now that it makes it a little bit harder to kind of just have tunnel vision. There's this podcast, right? The Health Me podcast. Listen to what people are saying. Books have been written about how to be successful after school, after graduation, early professional, joining special interest groups within APTA. There's so much out there, Mike, that I think, yes, focus on the boards and pass the boards, but don't forget about all the other things that might help you get there.